Hey guys, if you like to party and the stop block is what you're trying to go fast on, we have a new brand for you here, Stop Block the World. Go to the link in the video and support us. It should eventually lead to t-shirts, hoodies, and other apparel. What's up guys, on a beautiful Saturday morning here to shop. We are working on our trans tunnel today. We got our piece in from ART, Applied Racing Technology, and obviously it's universal, so it's cut to fit. But that's what we got to do today, is get that fitting and keep chipping away at the trans tunnel. So we got the drive shaft enclosure piece shaped and tacked together. Well, pretty much it's welded, stitch welded. That's all it needs. No reason to run a bead across the whole thing. Once it cools down, we will get it in the car and figure out where our braces go that will tie into the X-bars and make this piece removable. So as with everything else that we have to do, it always requires at least 1 to 12 more steps. But the tabs they send with the bracket for the pins go through, so you can make the tunnel removable. The one with the transmission from the factory, they're offset. This won't work correct with our X in the floor. So made one that is an inch longer. I'm going to cut it out in the plasma table real quick. So we have the trans tunnel or drive shaft enclosure tacked up. We did weigh this. This is the chromoly one. It was 15 pounds. So to offset that, I guess I will stop eating and slowly die. So I'm not sure how else I'm going to lose that. We had to make that custom tab, as I showed you. I also had to make another one back here. No big deal. It's part of it, but basically you just slide on there and put your pins in, and these guys right here, and it's removable. And also it's a pretty sturdy setup, so if something does let go, hopefully it'll keep it out of the car. But now I'm going to make all this stuff one. Alright, so our drive shaft enclosure is now done and welded. Wasn't too bad. I weighed it before I welded it. It's 14.8 pounds, and now it's 15. I want to say it's about 4 sticks of 1/16 ER70S filler. But also we've started on the gussets that go from the dash bar to here, and then we'll have to do another gusset from here to here and here to here. The dash bar, I know, looks a lot different than what you see in a lot of 25-3 cars, but remember, this cage originally was just a Wolf racecraft. Was it Wolf? Yeah. Yeah, Wolf racecraft 10-point, and we've added to it since then. But so that's where we're at now. We're going to get this drive shaft enclosure in there, and we're going to get these trans tunnel bars in place. So we got the 4 tabs welded in place on the X here. We enlarged the holes to make it a bit easier, because things do tweak up some when you weld them. You could tell after the fact once we had welded the enclosure. We got the actual support or the tunnel bars in right here, and besides some support bars for the tunnel and some couple gussets here, we should be really close to finished, minus the finish welding up here. And then we just need to we're going to run some bars from the back of the trans tunnel to that Marriott Racing upper torque box assembly. And then from there, on this side, I mean, I'm sure there's more stuff, but it's going to be tin work and tubs, of course. And there's a broken bolt in here because everything is stupid. It's about 7 o'clock on Saturday, cleaning up. We made really good progress today. We got all the gussets in that are required on both sides. We added a extra support from the dash bar to the crossover there. Didn't have time to get the bars in to the trans tunnel, but we'll get those in Tuesday. And then of course the ones that go to the rear end assembly, or the upper torque boxes. And I'll be ready to start. Alright guys, we're back here again on Tuesday. As you can tell, I'm in the car, and we're trying to figure out, as far as clearance goes, for getting a bar to go to this upper trans tunnel rail. So we got to make sure to keep enough clearance for feet, and of course for the transmission itself to. Alright guys, so we're back at it here on Saturday. John's working on the 2 down bars that go on the back side of the trans tunnel. just a little extra protection in case it slings something. Those bars will be a bit more robust than the sheet metal. I've started welding what I can. We just put the car up on the blocks again, which will make John's job easier and mine. As you know, we went out with Alan's truck last night, did really well. But we got a little late start this morning because it was a late night and we're old. Alright, so we're closing up, guys, but made more good progress today. Yeah, as you can tell, car is on the block still. We didn't get a chance to remove the engine because it took a while to weld, but that worked out well because John was able to make some pieces out of some scrap aluminum to get an idea of how the steering rack mount was going to work. Obviously, the final piece won't have the piece hose clamped on there, but it gives us something good to work with and know what we can, what we can finally do on that. Got it. All this stuff taken care of, minus where the trans is and the firewall stuff. So hopefully Tuesday night we can get that stuff out and be able to get that taken care of and welded. And then on to the Alright guys, so back at it on John's car. We are both tired as hell from the track last night. We slept like 3 hours, but we've got to make progress on this car, so we just got to deal with it and then sleep in tomorrow. Goal today, I'm going to get these end rails, end caps made and welded in on both the front there and inside, and then we're going to try to get the firewall stuff cleaned up and welded in and patch like some of the areas here, hopefully to where it fits us a little bit better. So like I said, we're both really tired, but unfortunately this car won't finish itself, and I think we're both getting more motivated as well. So just going to see what we can get done today. Productive day, guys. Got the end caps welded in here and in there, and basically spent the rest of the time welding the firewall in. It is permanent now. Obviously the mid plate still comes out, but the firewall itself is in there. All the little lines you see, John will fix all that with the body work. But that's that part is done. It took all day to do all that and weld that. I had to make some patch pieces for some giant holes that were down there from before. But it's definitely looking good. So one more thing down, and just still
what is up, guys? Another Tuesday night here. So check it out. Let me get this turned around. Let's hold this the wrong way. We got our Willwood pedal assembly. As with everything else, it required a custom bracket. So I cut these pieces out on the plasma table. I just got to weld them up, but this will allow us to set it off the dash bar in there and get our pedals mounted. And then just smooth out 3/16, cut some little holes in it to save some weight. We'll get this welded, and then we'll get it in the car and evened up, and we'll be good to go on that part. All right, here's some updates for you guys. Got the upper mounts for the front end welded on. A few more firewall holes patched. John's on the seam seal of those, and of course paint over them. I've got that lower tab fully welded down there. Same thing over here, and the brake master brackets welded in there. Pretty good progress for a Tuesday night. Sometimes Tuesdays suck because we're tired and I'm old and I suck, but overall pretty good. Here the next 2 weekends are pretty busy. I got a mini vacation with the wife, and then the next weekend we got truck wars with Alan, so it's going to eat up 2 Saturdays. But when we get back, we'll start working on the floor work finally, I believe, and also need to start doing the chute mount for the new chute stuff. I don't know if it's laying out. Probably in this box, honestly. Let's see if it is in this box. But went with an air launcher setup
That's what Allen has, and they're awesome. You can pack them by yourself really easy. You know, honestly, now we plan to push the car anyway, so I can pack it while I'm waiting for the golf cart to get there if I want to, you know. And then the air launcher too, it shoots out with a bit more momentum, so the parachute should blossom a bit faster, which can help in the event if things get scary, or not really scary, but sketchy. Also, the optic armor windows are here, the rear, and then that's the front one right now is just resting on it while we've been working up here. The rear saved 12 pounds. The front, we don't have a good windshield to weigh. You would think that it probably saved similar, if not more. But I'd say you could probably think there's probably 20 pounds between those two, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, as you can see, John's starting to seem still before we leave this evening. But yeah, she's coming along. It's you know, still a lot of work left, but you know, making any kind of progress, especially when you start filling these holes and whatnot, it always feels like you're making big progress. The floor would definitely be the next thing. You know, he's got a bunch of these scallops from tin soldiers, and those will be our mounting point, and then we'll have to actually weld the metal in for the driver's side per NHRA spec, and then we'll probably actually do a little floor above the foot area there too, just something, probably aluminum or whatever. We'll figure that out when we get that far. What is up, guys? I will admit immediately that I have sucked at recording anything. I had to look back at my laptop at the last time I uploaded footage, and I believe that was July 13th. And I've got a lot of editing to do. And yeah, but just, you know, sometimes I'm just not feeling it. We have been still super busy, which we're fortunate considering all that's going on. And it's been taking its toll, because it's not always a walk in the park. But that aside, the race car progress has still been made. As you can see, some things have changed. I guess we'll start with the coolest part of all, because it's just gangster. We picked up this awesome intake thanks to our good buddy Eric Russell from Sean's Custom Alloy. It's, you know, the whole dilemma we were in was we had to get another intake modified for our dual injector setup, because I really just don't trust the current offerings of larger single injector options. Seen a lot of failures. The thing with running 2 rails is you have twice as many lines. It makes it hard to service, and you know, I'll be the first to say we don't want things to fly apart, but it's not like I run it like I'm worried about it. So talked to Eric. He got us a good deal, and Sean made us this, you know, setup for our Cathedral Port dual injector setup, and it's hard to see, but the cool valley cover as well. You know, we had a BTR intake. Obviously, we're still big BTR fans, but just getting that manifold modified wasn't, you know, we're still going to have the situation of just more rails and fuel lines than we wanted to deal with. So that's why we did that. You know, dash 12 rails, so we'll have plenty of volume there, and it looks clean too, and it's sleek, and it's awesome, and it's hard not to think a billet intake is bad. With that comes the cheapest throttle body on eBay. It was $42. So those two matched well together. And then we made a charge pipe. This charge pipe is actually pretty much all scrap. You know, I happen to have a flange here already. This is off the last setup. We cut it off down here. What I did too was, since it was kind of basically it was a 3.5 flange, turn it around, so it was 4-inch on the outer part where the normally the O-ring goes, and it was butted up to the 4-inch pipe. Then what I did was I did a small weld around that, and then a big weld that kind of blended it so it looks more like a transition than what it really is. more like a gradual transition. Last time it didn't look like that. But yeah, all that pipe, we just happened to have some scrap. This piece right here had some crazy Chinese powder coat on it, and John cleaned it up, but he's gonna black it out anyways. Today I do have the auxiliary injector flange and the ProCharger blow-off valve flange to get mounted. You can see the firewall's been painted. John did that. We got the EGT bungs added to our $275 headers, and you know, get that box mounted there. These right here, I think we're going to end up making our own flanges and cap these off to modify the valve covers, and we're going to run these tubes through the car for the blowdown tubes back to the catch can in the rear. You can see some floor progress has been made. We kind of jumped around a bit on that because it takes a while and you get frustrated and you want to do something else. But trying to get it done because it needs to be done so we can, you know, move on to wiring and everything else. The pedals, they are mounted. You know, had to make some custom brackets for the brake reservoirs. It's a dual reservoir setup, one front, one rear. I got the M&M shifter mounted. It's an air shifter this go around, which will be awesome. So it helps the consistency. I mean, when you race enough, you have like a timing you feel for things, but it makes it a lot easier to test stuff like shift points for the G meter and everything else whenever you can have the computer doing it for you, as long as you have a good system like Fuel Tech controlling it. You can see some template stuff going on down there. Passenger side sheets over there. This is all welded in on the driver's side, and let me see. And you can see a little bit going on there. Another thing, we switched to an air launcher setup on the chute, and built a whole new chute mount for it. We wanted to do the air launcher because they just, you know, they help the chute blossom a lot faster, which in certain situations could potentially save some things. So did the air launcher setup. We had a different chute mount before, and what I actually did was let me see. So most of the chute mounts that you buy for Fox bodies, they bolt to these right here, and that's like the bumper struts. John had drilled them before. The stuff came out of them and he had an extra bolt through them, but together those pieces weigh about 9 pounds. Then you just end up with a hole in the frame on the end. So what I did was I boxed it in, and I crawl underneath it and show you from there. So you can see underneath here where we're at. You know, this piece had been cut before, so I welded a plate to extend it, and then boxed it in like I said, and made a new bar to go all the way across. And then since this right here before, you can tell we had some thicker stuff that we had a bracket ran back in here. We cut that out. That was about 10.8 pounds. Since we don't need all that anymore, still need to clean up some of these pieces like that and that. But then this bar right here goes from there up to here with little triangulated brackets to help support it to keep from bending this bar. I've seen these bars bend before on other people's applications. And also this will actually give us a really good spot to hang weight. This car might be so light that it's a little too nose heavy, and so we'll need some good spots to hang weight. And what I like about that is we can position it to actually hang the weight low, so we can keep the center of gravity low. The chute itself also is a 420 opposed to a 430, so it itself is a little smaller, which should be fine for what the weight of this thing should be. Got the optic armor windows still in here, so just kind of help round things out. And some of the stuff I may have already posted about or recorded, I'm going to have to look and see, because like I said, it's been over a month at this point, about 5 weeks since I recorded anything, so a lot's been missed. I'm going to try to get back in the habit again, so I can get you guys updated and stop being such a crappy vlogger. But that's where we're at today. I'm going to try to get going on this thing and get some material working for this intercore pipe to get the blow-off valve mounted first, and I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, so I got this piece ready to go for the flange. This is obviously the side that goes on the pipe. You see it fits up pretty well, and it's in this flat piece here, which is good because that Chinese piece there has some kind of crap on the inside. Thankfully it welded as well as it did, but I kept waiting for it to screw up. So the reason I do it at an angle like this, and some guys even do more extreme, is because when you close the throttle, the air is obviously traveling that direction, and it helps it get out easier. A lot of guys don't even run a blow-off valve with this kind of stuff because it'll recover faster if you have to pedal it. But once again, that's a $42 throttle body, and I can't imagine it's going to handle that kind of airflow reversion when we let out the throttle very well without a blow-off valve. Hopefully help it live a while. But so it's going to end up being in this area right here, and then that'll be kind of out of the way since it's going to give us a lot of room on this side. What I'm going to do next is clean this piece up, and then I'm going to weld it to the flange first, because trying to weld the flange when it's on the pipe makes it very difficult. And then once it cools down, I get it over here for final placement, and then we'll get to the bench and start drilling. Got the flange welded. It's not too bad as far as heat goes. Recently, what I've started doing on aluminum stuff that has flanges, I don't have like a actual heat sink to bolt it to, is I'll just tack it, and then I'll cool it a bit, and depending on what it is, I'll either cool it every so many dabs or just make a full rotation and do it. But it seems to work for keeping warpage down, and this thing is not really rocky at all. So now I'm gonna figure out where I want to put it on the intercooler pipe. Alright, so I got the pipe marked. It'll go here, the flange wheel. I marked the outside of it. So what I'll do is get my hole started, and then basically run a hole saw through. I haven't decided which way I want to do it yet. A lot of times what I will do is get it on the outside, tacked in a few places, and then hit a hole saw through the middle of it, which usually works easy. I just gotta see if I have one that's close enough to that size. Alright, so I didn't have a hole saw for that, so what I did was I used this Harbor Freight Savage saw here, and basically cut it like a pizza, and then I used a little sawzall to just kind of trim it out to the inside of the area. What I'll do now is use this guy right here to kind of do the radius to get them thin, and then I'll probably break them off with a combination of a screwdriver and a pair of dikes. I wanted you guys to see it before I cleaned it up a little more, but like I said, I just used the small cutting wheel to kind of touch the radius up and make it a little thinner, and then just broke it off with the dikes. Now I'll just clean it up some, and then I will get the outer flange tacked in place. Alright guys, as you can tell, this is still sitting there. It's pretty good on the inside. I'm going to weld it first. I like to leave a little bit of material around some of the spots that don't fit quite as tight. That way it helps with welding, and then when you get done you can just clean it back up. But yeah, she is ready to fasten on there. Alright, so that is welded on there. I still need to clamp a little bit inside, but I'll worry about that after I get the injector bung mounted and also the IAT bung. Got our flange marked for our auxiliary injector. The reason that I run that is because I really think it helps getting the charge air down to keep things cool. I know it is on M1, and M1 doesn't really mind the elevated temps. In fact, some people say that it'll help if you don't have an adequate ignition system, because it helps light the fuel off easier, which is probably true. At the same time, a lot of the big power guys like RVW guys, I've heard of them running their AFRs in 2.830 range to help keep the things alive longer. And with the right ignition system like a FT Spark, they will not lose any kind of mile per hour thanks to that and ET. So we got the injector flange marked. I do have to shape it a little bit, which is which will be pretty easy, because honestly it's such a small area, it'll be probably close to flat. Another thing is, we do run the hyperactive air temperature sensor, since it won't melt like we have the GM ones, which honestly the GM ones may not melt now that we run fuel in front of them. We'll keep an eye on Allen to see if it melts, but I will have to trim this down a little bit, and then I'm going to put it like right here on the bottom side, just somewhere kind of low profile and out of the way. Look cleaner on the wiring, and just right there before it goes in the throttle body. Alright guys, so you can see got the charge pipe finish minus paint, the blow-off valves mounted, auxiliary injector, and then the air temperature sensor. So usually how I do this is I'll kind of mark where it's going to be at and drill my hole. This time I was like, well, I'll put it on there and just use a drill bit to drill through it. Well, it's kind of a pain whenever you're actually drilling into an angle like that, and in the end it actually made it harder because I had to get in there to die grinder and kind of open it up from the inside so I wouldn't have a little ledge for the fuel to puddle on. So future reference is drill your hole. That flange is super thick, so you got some room to oversize it and then weld it. That'll save you 5-10 minutes. Blow-off valve, I cleaned up the inside with the little sander we use for spot welds and stuff. And we had some old motor plate material, so John made a bracket for the System 1 filter. The last setup was, we were running high on duty cycle when we were like, we shouldn't have been running high on duty cycle. Did some research this winter and realized that our fuel filter, although it's rated for 3,000 horsepower, is only rated for 2,000 pounds of fuel, and we definitely exceed that. So the fact that it supported what it supported was already good. What we did on Allen's was actually run 2 of those fuel filters, so basically 1 per set of rails, and that's his does fine. But since once we bought this intake and pulled the trigger on going with the single rail setup, went ahead and grabbed that too, and that's what a lot of guys run as well. So it's a good product, and you can buy the cartridges and stuff like that also to replace it if ever necessary. So it's looking good. Now we got some more things to figure out, but good progress so far. Alright, so got the scavenge pump mounted. You can see the turbo's right there, and we'll make a piece that goes right there to the pump. It's a good clear spot away from everything as far as clearance wise. Not worried about the heat too much because it is a metal body, and it's obviously every time this thing runs it'll be relatively short-lived, so I wouldn't cruise it like that. Went with the Tilton because all the turbo works ones were out of stock, and Tilton is good stuff if you know anything about it, so it's not really too big of a deal. I think it'll be fine for what we're doing, and this is actually their pump that's designed to be ran for longer periods anyway, so I think it should be less likely to give us an issue due to heat or anything.